Well, hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate live show. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. Let me know in the comment and where you're tuning in from. Type in hello as well. I'm just having a little bit of fun today of dressing up in the spirit of Halloween. I'm going to be taking off this suit. I have so much fun today dressing up. When I was planning for the show, I was like, it's Halloween, and what can I talk about? And I thought spooky mistakes job seekers make would be a fantastic topic to talk about. And in preparing for this, I was thinking originally that I would dress up as a witch, that I could just get a witch hat, but apparently they were all sold out. And then I happened to borrow a hat from one of my friends that looked like a wizard hat, but then it didn't really fit me. So yesterday I bought this wig. I was like, oh, I can dress up as a mermaid instead. So anyhow, this was for fun. I'm going to be taking this off soon because it's getting really hot. But want to say welcome. Tell me a little bit where you're from. Type in hello. Are you new here? If you are, welcome, welcome. If you've been a big fan of mine, type in big fan. Anyways, I'm just going to take this off. It's getting a little hot here. Um, I hope that was fun there. Just a little fun that I had here this morning and dressing up as a mermaid. That's what I'll be doing with my kids this weekend there. So hello, 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 Julie. Hi, William. Hi, Melissa as well. So thank you so much for being here today. So what are we going to cover today? So today I'm going to share with you, this is the agenda for today. I'm going to introduce a little bit about me and some scary facts in the spirit of Halloween as well. And then I'm going to cover 8 job search mistakes and give you some tips on how to fix them as well. And then I'm happy to also answer your questions along the way. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in here. I hope this will be a fun session. Love the wig. Thank you, Candace. I had some fun. I was like, do I put this on or not? I was like, all right, let's just get it on just for a little bit here, just to have some fun together there. Okay, so thank you for those who are tuning. I see that there's those folks for joining in YouTube and LinkedIn as well. So, all right. So where are we? I just want to say a few hellos before I dive in here. Big fan. Hey, Andrew. Great seeing you as well. Hey, Dwayne. All right. Awesome. All right. I'm just settling in with my audience here. That's awesome. You can see I got a little sparkles. I also got some of these gothic theme type of nails here, the black and the green and the purple, the mermaid kind of vibe as well. I never do this. I actually usually go for a lot more brighter colors, but I was like, let's just have some fun this weekend here. So welcome. Tell me if you are doing anything this Halloween. What are you going to be dressing up as? We'll love to hear. I have 2 boys. My older one is going to be dressing up as a Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story, and then my younger one is a big fan of Paw Patrol, and he's going to dress up as Marshall there. All right, so let's dive into this talk here, and I'll be paying attention to the chat as well. All right, so for those who don't know me, I'm Diana YK Chan, former recruiter turned career coach, speaker, and trainer at My Markability. This year, I've been celebrating my 10-year in business, where I've helped over 1,000 clients one-on-one around the globe, from entry level all the way to senior level professionals. I've been recognized as one of the top 10 job search experts to follow on LinkedIn. If we're not connected yet, make sure to either connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn. I've been featured in Forbes, LinkedIn, HuffPost, JobScan, and various podcasts and live streams. So I thought I would share a little bit of some scary things that I've done in my life in the spirit of Halloween here. Feel free to share with me yours as well. I have a few that I wanted to share. First is that I moved to Canada. Moved to Canada from Hong Kong all by myself when I was 16, and that was something very scary to do. But my parents wanted us to have a better education, so they sent me first when I was 16, and then 6 months later, they sent my younger brother over, who was 2 years younger than me, and we had our own apartment. I was still in high school at that time when I was only in grade 10, and I had like 3 part-time jobs. And that experience really helped me grow and mature a lot faster, because I've also, in total, 3 siblings there. And one of the, I guess, pressure that I had from my parents was being a good role model for my siblings. So I had to grow up really quickly at that age and experienced a lot. Other scary things that I did in my life is that I'm a 2-time firewalker. So the first one was in 2008, when I was going through a personal development journey, and it was the warrior camp. This is one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, like for an entire week, living out in the mountains. And it was really getting deep on who you are, what you want, like what are you willing to die for and stand for. And that was my first walking on fire experience. And I came back on fire. That was when I realized I really wanted to become a speaker and trainer and start my own business. And my entire tribe was really gave me the courage to just go for it there. The second time was in 2013 when I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within training. That's when I also did the fire walking experience. And what I love about that was that it was also stepping into seeing my future of where I'm heading and what I wanted to do. And so that was also another big transformational experience. The other time was bungee jumping in Australia. This was back in 2008 after my MBA. I went backpacking for the first time all by myself for 3 weeks across Australia. And I did bungee jumping and skydiving where it was above the Great Barrier Reef, going down at 220 miles per hour. It was a crazy experience, but it was just so thrilling, exciting to do that. And the last one was scuba diving. I got my scuba diving license on my honeymoon in Indonesia back in 2011. And the one of my highlight of the dives that I done was in Hawaii, Big Island, where we did a night dive with manta rays. And that was an epic experience where we basically had to go the bottom of the ocean and we had this like flashlight. We just had to sit there. And I think I was too light at that time, or the instructor had to put some rocks on my belly so that I would actually sink to the bottom so that we could actually experience these dozens of manta rays swimming like above us there. So that was another scary, epic experience that I did. And then lastly was 10 years ago, I started my business after I got laid off within a week without a business plan. But I always knew I wanted to start my business. I prepared myself through all the training, personal development training that I did. So once that happened, even though it was scary, my husband really gave me the courage, like, just to go for it there. So these are some scary things about me that I've done in my life. I'm curious to hear from you. Type in the comment, like, what are some of the scary things that you've done in your life and how has that made you a stronger person today there? Okay. So I hope that was fun to share. The other thing I thought I would share in terms of speaking of like job search, right, of mistakes here, I thought I would maybe share a few scary decisions some of my clients had to make recently. Two particular one. One was a client in the UK got an offer that had over 40% increase of her salary, which was incredible. However, the role was not what she wanted. In fact, she felt that it was energy draining, even though she had the expertise to do it. So she had to make a scary decision of whether to accept this job or not. And at the end, like through her coaching, she decided to decline the opportunity because it wasn't aligning closer to where she wanted to go, even though the increase in a salary. And I remember I recently did a poll on my LinkedIn that many of you said that even though you're making more money, but if it's the job is not something you love, you won't take that opportunity there. So that was a decision that my client made. Another one was one of my C-level clients. He received an amazing opportunity in health tech. It was an amazing compensation package as well. Really long process he had to go through. And at the end, he declined the opportunity. And the reason being was there were some red flags throughout the interview process where either he was not getting the information he needed when he asked those questions, or there were errors in the offer letter, or the CEO didn't really answer all the questions that he had. And at the end, he had to trust his gut, even though amazing compensation package, great opportunity for growth as well, an opportunity to be the successor to become the CEO of the company. At the end, he had to trust his gut. And the one of the question I asked him was, because he was actually interviewing for another opportunity as well, regardless of the outcome of this other opportunity, are you willing to reject this opportunity? And he said yes. And the main concern were some concerns of like the back and forth of the people that we're dealing with. So these are things that in times of things that are at stake, you have to really trust yourself of what's truly important to you. Okay, even though there's this shiny object out there that's telling you like you take this, but you got to really trust yourself and listen to that inner voice as well there. Okay, so let me just check in the comment here. All right, some questions are coming in. I will be answering some questions as I go in there. All right, Melissa said you did skydiving, bungee jumping in New Zealand. Ooh, that's awesome. I want to go to New Zealand one day, as well there. Okay. Okay, so let's dive into this training where I'm going to be covering 8 mistakes that job seekers make and tips on how to fix them. Feel free to take notes. For those who asked, there will be a replay available later on as well. You can just go to my either YouTube channel, or you can also go to my LinkedIn or my Facebook for the replay as well. Okay, and then I want to keep this as engaging as possible. Feel free to click like and comment anytime. Share your key learnings and questions as well. Okay. Okay, so welcome. For those who are just tuning in, thank you so much for tuning here. I'm going to be covering 8 job search mistakes that job seekers make and how to fix them. So the first mistake is lacking that clarity and plan. You probably hear this a lot, but from my experience as well, working with a lot of clients, I find that those who dive right into the job search or apply for jobs, they have a weaker foundation. So, one of the common things I see a lot from job seekers when they come to me is they say, Diana, I want to apply for this job ASAP. I need your help in updating my resume and LinkedIn profile. Now, while I can definitely do that, oftentimes I find that job seekers are not clear on why they want this job, or they're just doing it because there's a deadline, or there's that sense of urgency. As a result, the messaging piece of the document is not as strong. And so people just go after implying right away. And so oftentimes what I see is that they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and start from the beginning again and getting clear on what is it that they truly want. And this could really cause an ineffective use of time as well. So a few things, is really getting clear on the ideal role. What I find is that sometimes when people tell me that in their mind, they're clear of what they want, but articulating it is hard. So I recently started working with a client that in her mind, she's clear that she wanted to be in a data engineering, data analytics type of role. But when I probed further, it was hard for her to really articulate what that role looked like and why she wanted that role. And so it's really important to not only just in your mind be clear, but the way you convey it is clear as well. And in order to do that is you have to really write down this ideal job description of the scope of the role, the deliverables, the problems that you want to solve, and even map out what are the core competencies required for the job that you're applying for, so that you know how to best position yourself for success there. Another piece around this whole time management, because job search is a journey, right? Typically, it could take anywhere between that 3 to 6 month time frame to land an opportunity. For my senior level clients, it could take 6 months or more, just because there may be less of those opportunities there. So it's really important to manage your time wisely. I would say most people use their time on looking at job postings. That's where most people do. They're looking at job postings, set up job alerts, and they apply for jobs. But really what I want to encourage is spending more time on either the inner work of knowing yourself, of who you are, what you want, what's important to you, or spending some more time doing the research of the opportunities that you're looking for. And the third piece is spending time more networking, right? That's something I'm going to talk about later as well. Most people don't do enough networking there. So just having a better time management will help you also get better results as well. Sometimes what I've seen with some clients that they may be on a role with applying for jobs and they're going through a bunch of interviews, but they lose the focus or the intention of why they want this particular opportunity or why are they best fit for this particular opportunity. They're just going through it because it's here, going through those emotions. And it's so important to have a strong foundation so that you can really be more grounded, centered, and more persuasive with your communications there. Okay. So mistake number 2 is a weak personal brand. So personal branding is one of my favorite topics. And what I found is that most people either don't care about it or they just neglected it, right? It's not something that's top of mind. But having a strong personal brand is what's really going to differentiate you and make you stand out. And I really have a strong belief is that when you have a strong personal brand, it really sets that foundation and creating more compelling messaging and communication documents, whether it's your elevator pitch, your resume, your cover letter, or your LinkedIn profile. So a lot of times I see that people don't necessarily have a theme or strategy. And this is something that I really enjoy doing with my clients one-on-one, is really getting clear on like, what's your brand? Like, what's the theme here of what we want to sell about you, right? When you have this theme, it's just more memorable that way. And having this plan of how you want to convey your message becomes more memorable there. And the third is really that unaware of the differentiation factors. And most people, I find it's something hard for them, or maybe just never thought about it, of how to think about what they're great at or what they're known for, what truly differentiates them. But when you do this exercise of identifying essentially your core theme of what you want to be known for, and then break it down into like 3 pillars of the key areas of what you want to be known for. From there, you can build a business case in identifying great stories, great sound bites to back up your claim. Right? This is something I do a lot with my clients, and those I find who do this exercise, it becomes much more easier for them to communicate their unique value proposition there. Okay. So I'm curious to hear from you, like any of you have gone through like a personal branding exercise, or another great activity do at the beginning first is to send out a survey to your audience, to people you work with, your family, your friends, people who know you. Ask them feedback on how they perceive you, right? What are the words they would use to describe you? How would they describe your leadership style or communication style? What's the unique value that you bring? It's always an eye-opening exercise. When my clients do this, they're like, wow, this is eye-opening. And you're going to start finding themes and patterns, and you're going to find these key words that really either resonate with you or they don't, so that you understand like what's the gap here and how you can really elevate your brand to the next level so that you increase your marketability and credibility as well. Okay. Mistake number 3 is having a mediocre resume. So I've seen tons of resumes. I have a recruiting background and I've done tons of interviews. I've seen at least 20,000 resumes in my career there. And I would say from my experience, a lot of times resumes, I would say that most people do this because we just never had this proper training. It's really mainly responsibilities-based content of what we've done. And that's just normal because that's how most people would just think like that, that this is what I did. So this is what you put on your resume. It's chronological order. However, it's not something that necessarily is impressive. It's really lacking these tangible accomplishments and results that make you stand out. And this is where it's so important to really dig deeper, another level deeper, by peeling the onion, by asking yourself the so what question, right? You did this, so what? What happened? Or why did we have to do this? What's the significance of this project or task there? Another common mistake I see is having a passive tone of voice, right? So there's a difference between using an active tone of voice versus a passive tone of voice. When you use an active tone of voice, it gives the impression that it feels more that you took a leadership responsibility. It feels more engaging as well. So using powerful action verbs like achieved, created, developed, evaluated, facilitated. These action verbs will sound more powerful there versus responsible for, or did this or helped with this. It's more passive there. And then the other is really that poor formatting, right? You know, a lot of times recruiters skim through a resume. You probably heard of that 6-second rule, the 6 seconds to skim through a resume. So having a poor format in terms of like not enough white space or written like a very paragraph format without any bullet points makes it very hard to skim through there. So you really want to modernize the resume by having great formatting. Let me just take a look at some questions before I move forward here, because I know oftentimes resume is a hot topic. So if you have any questions, let me know about that as well. So let me see a question that we had here from William. Is it a good idea to send resume along with courtesy job application heads up to both recruiters and suspected hiring managers? Identifying correct hiring manager is a challenge I find. Yeah. So it depends on if you can find the hiring manager or not, William. All right. If you can find them, that's great. Like if you, I think what would be like could be more effective is you submit it online and you do know who the recruiter is, you can message them. And then maybe if you could find some, it's hard to guess who the hiring manager is, but maybe you can message them like, to see like whether they are the right person. If they are, that's great. And then you can send it follow up. If not, you can ask them like, could they help identify who the hiring manager is and help pass it along there? Okay. What's more effective, I would say, is that if you find someone who you know who works there and who can maybe look internally and refer you in, that would be even more effective. Okay. All right. What's another question here? How many days should we give before following up for an interview? 2 weeks, 10 days, 1 week. I would say rule of thumb, like after like a week or 10 days, it's good to follow up unless the hiring manager, the interviewer told you it's going to take them 2 to 3 weeks to interview because they schedule a bunch of interviews, then you may want to wait a bit longer. But if they say that, we'll make a decision in the next week, I think anywhere that 10 days, 10 business days is good to follow up there to check in, especially after like I've had some clients, like if you waited for 3 weeks, you definitely want to follow up there. Okay. And at the end of the day, it's all how you're going to position it, right? That you want to check in. I find one of the strategies that works really, really well is to have this leverage strategy. This happened to my client literally this week, like yesterday. He had an interview earlier in the week. He was in the final round of a presentation. I think it was Monday. And then the next day or two, he had another interview opportunity that was like the beginning round initial. And he actually mentioned to this second opportunity that he's in the final rounds expecting an offer from his other employer. And the second opportunity, they said that expect to wait a few weeks. But the second opportunity is actually more interested in. And it turned out like yesterday, both companies made an offer. And this has happened multiple times to many of my clients. When you have multiple opportunities happening, signal, let them know that you have other opportunities. And if you're expecting an offer, let them know as well so that they can expedite their decision-making process. If you are the right fit, you're the ideal candidate, they're going to make an offer if you have really, if they really want you there, right? So don't be afraid to speak up about that there. Okay. Okay. Oh, I think there was that follow-up question to that question is, should we follow up with HR or the interviewer? So who's your point? It depends on who's your point of contact. If you have your recruiter or HR, the point of contact, follow up with them because they're the one who is arranging all the interviews, not necessarily the interviewers arranging that. Unless it's the hiring manager that's managing the whole process, then you contact them there. So it really depends who your point of contact is. Okay. Good. All right. Keep them coming with a question. So let's talk about mistake number 4 is having this skeletal LinkedIn profile, like a bare bones LinkedIn profile. I've seen millions of LinkedIn profiles as a former recruiter. And oftentimes, for those who don't have a great LinkedIn profile, they have a default job title in their tagline. Or they may have pretty much bare bones as well in their about section, which is really lacking that personality or storytelling, showcasing who they really are. I've seen a lot of the typical ones, the traditional ones where it says 10 years experience in marketing, sales, in XYZ industry, like a paragraph statement there. But when you put some more effort in writing out this whole story, it really invites the person to want to have a conversation with you there. A third piece here is really having boring content in the experience section. Depending on how many years of work experience, oftentimes I see it's really just the job titles, maybe a one-liner responsible for this there. While that it's nice, it doesn't necessarily stand out. And as a recruiter, they can't really tell how well you performed in the role there. And then lastly is that having this unoptimized skills and keywords, right? At the end of the day, a lot of people or recruiters would use LinkedIn to look for talent. There's many other platforms as well, but LinkedIn is a great tool they use to search. So if you want to be searchable, you really want to make sure that you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. And the strategy here is you want to identify your top 3 to 5 keywords that you want to sprinkle throughout your entire profile, from your tagline, the about section, experience section, to the skills section there. Okay? And that's going to help you have this consistency in building up this theme of yours of how you want to position and sell yourself effectively there. Okay. Another way to really elevate the profile to make it even more updated is to get new recommendations, the testimonials from people you worked with. Sometimes I see some of my clients may have some, but it's been like 5-10 years ago. So if you can get something that's more recent, then it showcases that you've been up to date with your LinkedIn profile there. Okay. I'm guessing for those who are a lot of on here, you have your LinkedIn profile, let me know, like, are you looking to optimize your profile even further? How are you doing in terms of the views? Like, do you get enough views on your LinkedIn profile? You can check out the stats as well, right? You can experiment by making some tweaks as well. So for example, let's talk about the tagline here. The rule of thumb, I would say, is like when I think about as a recruiter, usually it's either search by titles or keywords. Right. So for example, let's just use marketing manager, right? Marketing manager is the title. And then the areas that we could look for would be keywords such as B2B marketing or B2C marketing. Could be maybe digital marketing, content marketing, or web marketing, right? So you want to have some keywords in there. Like probably 3 is enough. Just identify your top 3 along with your title, and then have a value prop statement. So this is something, it's really that the benefits of what you bring, right? How you help an employer, right? Or having like a tangible accomplishment statement, right? That will pique interest, right? So one of my C-level clients, he'll have something like scaling businesses from 0 to $10 million in tech. And some of the keywords he has is M&A, mergers and acquisition, raising capital. Those are some of the keywords. And he's a C-level executive, so he would have like C-level executive there. Right. For those, if you're looking to either get to the next level, so in this case, for example, like this client wants to go from CFO to CEO, president role. Instead of just putting CFO, you could also put in C-level executive as an example to showcase, like some people will look for those keywords. And in his past, he actually has taken on president and CEO roles. So he also sprinkles that in his about section to help also with that searchability as well there. Okay, so the strategy here is that if you want to become searchable, you have to think like a recruiter of what would they search for, right? And this is where you have to really practice doing some search as well to see what results come, or talk to recruiters as well of what they look for in the space that you are going after there. Okay. Yes, keywords are so crucial. Keywords are so crucial here. How do you ask for testimonials on LinkedIn? That's a great question, Susan. So there's a couple ways of doing it. You can either go directly on LinkedIn and request a testimonial from the person that you're connected to. You got to first be connected to this person first to submit directly a request of requesting for a testimonial. Another is you just send them an email directly there. So I have this template ready, and one of the key things is I always say make it easy for people to write you a testimonial. So either few things you can do is one, you acknowledge, you would like to request for a testimonial, and if you want to trigger them on like say something to highlight about you, you can mention something, the work that you've done together, and maybe a particular skill that they could highlight, and then you could give them some guiding questions. So you can talk about maybe like what's your experience working with you, how would it describe you. What was the impact that they brought, working together. Give them some guiding questions to help them with the writing. Another method is you could provide them some starting words, right, of guiding words to use, right, of something like, so-and-so is this, and we worked on a project about this where we did it. So you give them some fill in the blanks type of statements to fill out. Another method is you can provide them a sample testimonial to give them an idea of what they could write about. Okay? But the key here is that you want to ask people who either experienced, working with you or know a little bit about you so that they can really be sincere in writing something meaningful as well versus fluffy. Sometimes I get these requests from people I actually don't know. And they ask me to write something, but it's really hard for me because I don't know anything about them. So you want to make sure you're asking people who actually know a bit about you or have actually been following your work for quite some time to write something meaningful there. Okay. Okay, keep the questions coming there. So let's dive in further in terms of mistake number 5. So mistake number 5 is barely networking. I find that a lot of people I've talked to or work with find it like this stage of networking is one of the hardest things for them to do. It's either awkward, uncomfortable, or something they just haven't done, especially for those who've worked at the same company for 5, 10 years or more. They've been used to just talking to people within their company. And networking externally is not something that they have done at all. So it becomes a bit um, uncomfortable for them. And so a lot of times people just don't do it. Most of the time people just don't do it. And as a result, a lot of people just result to like just applying for jobs only online. But here's the thing, if your strategy is only applying online, the chances of getting an interview is less than 3%, right? On average, over 250 people apply for a job. And so the chance of getting an interview is really, really low. So just relying on that strategy is not enough. And so a lot of times people come to me after they've been doing this for a very long time and they realize they need to really diversify their job search strategy there. Right. Just hiding in the dark is not going to increase your visibility, right? If you don't increase your visibility, people don't know that you're available or that don't know that you're looking there, right? Or people don't know how they can best help you. Not asking people to bat for you. So this is really the referral, right? Studies show that you're 5 times more likely to get hired through a referral. So leveraging your network is really important, but you want to do it wisely and effectively as well, right? You want to be clear that one, signal that you're looking. Second is that you want to make it easy for them to refer you by being clear on what you're looking for and what you have to offer. And a way to do that is you can write what I call a referral message. If those who want to refer you, make it easy for them to do that by writing them a referral note in a third person writing, a little blurb about you, what you're looking for, and your top 3 unique selling points. By doing that, they can just easily copy and paste it and make some minor tweaks, and they're more likely to take action than just sending a quick note like, hey, do you know anyone in your network that you can introduce me to? That's just too vague. I find that when you're actually being more descriptive and you can actually either describe your ideal type of role or company, it actually creates a visual in someone's mind that they'll think of someone that they could introduce you to there. Okay. What else here? And then the other is lack of follow up. So here's the thing, I find that a lot of times people may start to try to do networking. They'll reach out to some people and, they hear crickets, like no one's like responding back to them and they just give up. And, studies have shown it's like sales. Well, it takes 7 to 8 types of follow ups to really close a deal. And it's similar to networking as well, that sometimes people just either are too busy, they forget. Sometimes they may get tons of messages and it's just, at the bottom of the pile there. So you just have to follow up and to be top of mind. That's exactly what happened to one of my client recently. She made a big transition from entrepreneurship to corporate. And that's a very significant change. And one thing that she did really well, we were talking in our debrief here, was that she would periodically check in with the people that she already talked to. So it's not just like a transactional type of conversation where you have one conversation and you move on, but it's actually checking in throughout the months. And that's exactly what happened, where she stay in touch with one of my other executive clients, where to had like periodic check-ins. And then a few months later, when this client my exec client had an opportunity come up, this other client was top of mind. And that's how she landed the opportunity, is actually having these follow-up as well and having these informational interviews to get a better understanding of what it takes to break into the industry and corporate as well. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little here. Let me just check on the comments here before I move on. I was given a verbal offer and the written letter was said to be sent in 24 hours. Should I follow up on day 2? Yeah, why not? If your written letter was sent, here's the thing. here's what I know, just having worked in recruiting myself, it's first of all, it's easier to first pick up the phone to give the verbal offer, right? Especially if they know you have other offers on there. Creating the official offer letter sometimes could take time because other multiple parties have to be involved. There's a difference between having an email offer, like an email writing, versus the actual legal offer there. And that could take time. Sometimes it could take a bit more than 24 hours. Sometimes it could take like that, 48 hours there. But it doesn't hurt to follow, especially if you have other competing offers on the table. But, if you don't mind waiting another day, that's totally fine. I think here what's important is that know that if you already got the offer, um, be be patient as well, right? Sometimes I find that I know that is just for some of I see here where people almost lose an offer. It's scary where I see some clients where they almost lose an offer because of how they behave or how they treat the recruiter. At the end of the day, they're here to help you, right? The recruiters. So you want to also be respectful and be patient, be kind as well. Sometimes there are just other things that they have to do that could take some time there. Okay. So it doesn't hurt to follow up, but sometimes just give a little bit of that a grace period. It's totally okay as well there. Okay. What's another comment here? William said, LinkedIn and networking has been challenging per ghosting issue. Yes, I hear you. It happens all the time. Yeah, it's not going to go away. I know that is unfortunate there. But I think this is where we want to also assess the effectiveness of our messaging, right? I would say usually rule of thumb is that if you get 20 to 30% response rate, that's pretty good. Anything lower than that 20% response rate, you probably want to revisit that. The reality is not everyone's going to respond to you. And the other thing is how you write it. So I think there's a difference between, because I get these messages a lot. I pretty much I get messages all the time like, Diana, can I pick your brain? Diana, can I have a chat with you? And I find those who do it well are those is that we don't we're straight to asking for a meeting, right? It's really hard for someone to say yes to having a meeting with you right away without knowing anything about you or any context. I think if you start having a dialogue first in the chat where you start either commenting, asking some questions, start having this dialogue first, like to warm things up before you ask for like a coffee chat type of meeting. I think that would be better because you are building trust and rapport. You're giving more context as well that they can also decide whether they can help you or not there. Yeah. So William said, like a lot of folks don't respond when being asked for to connect for 15 minutes. So I would say, William, like assess, take a look, like in terms of how are you doing that as a first ask right away, or have you actually tried to also build some relationships with them throughout there before making that ask? So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I hear you. Thing is, not everyone's going to respond. I've had some clients where they get really high response rate, and I think part of it is one, either you show them you've done a little bit of the research. Second is in terms of tone, we want to make it about them and in terms of really learning about them instead of about you. I've actually been listening to this communication book. It's called Simply Said. And the whole theme of the book is about making your messaging about them instead of you, about understanding their needs, their experiences instead of just about you there. By doing that, you are showing more interest from of this other party there, and they're more likely to say yes there. Check out that book, Simply Said. I've been learning a lot communication techniques around that as well. Yeah, someone comment here. Diane, I feel that really bad trying to network as so many people are super busy and stressed these days. I hear you. I know. I totally understand. People are busy and stressed these days. I totally understand that. Totally. I totally feel about that. But I think this is where, I said, start easy, start with the dialogue first. And it's okay if people decline. It's not necessarily about you. I'll tell you, sometimes people are just busy. Like I get requests all the time, and unfortunately, sometimes I just have to decline certain requests, or I'll just have to say, like, check out some of these resources that could help you. We have to prioritize and don't take it personally. People just have a lot going on. Make it easy, right? It could just be like ask a few questions, a few burning questions that you may have to start that uh, um, dialogue there. Okay. Okay. What else here? So, question here is being that we're in November almost, do you think it's a good time to continue job hunt or better to start in late December going 2022? Honestly, continue. It's still hot. The market right now, it's still dynamic right now. It's still active. So absolutely to continue your job search unless you feel like you want to take this break. But if not, like I mean, like let's just still continue. There's still another month and a half, more than a month and a half until like the Christmas holidays. So to me, still continue. Like I have seen many clients land a job like literally like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve because there are certain companies where they need to use their budget or they'll lose it. So keep going. Like I wouldn't stop it. That is something that if you really want to land something soon, I would continue, or even at least plant seeds. Like don't stop there. Okay. All right. Sounds like networking is like a hot topic. I should do a training just on networking. I have a whole talk on networking. It's a really passionate topic of mine out there. Okay, so someone made a comment here about networking. I have difficulty to maintain the connection, even though people responded and actually came to meet me for the first coffee. Okay, so I probably need a little context maintaining connection with the people who respond actually came to meet for coffee. So the question here is after you meet, do you send a thank you email? Do you follow up? Do you acknowledge some of the things that you've learned? Are you taking action from the things of the advice that this person give you? You can actually give them an update as well, like that I appreciate your time and I want to let you know that I've actually took your advice and did some of these things. When you do that, you're more likely to maintain that conversation because they see that you've actually taken their advice and that you've actually taken action as well. The other is actually keeping track. For those of you actively really networking, is have a good tracking system of the people that you meet. Track like the conversations you've had and have a reminder note of when you want to follow up. Is it, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, or later on there? Okay. Okay. Yes, the book is Simply Said, a communication book, Andrew. All right, let me see here before I move into the next one here. Julie said, in the LinkedIn profile where you have to pick an industry, the options are not abundant. There doesn't seem to be one that is applicable to what I do. I currently pick consumer services. Do you recommend changing that one word around? So, Julie, tell me a little about what you do. One thing I do know is that as a recruiter, like I've searched by industries as well. So I think one of the key is you want to look at the industry that you're in. Is it common? Just even doing a search of industry, like do you get a lot of hits there? Because I know that's part of the searchability. When I was a recruiter, I would search by location and by industry as well. So I'm curious to hear from you, Julie. If you were to get your pick besides consumer services, what would that be there? Okay. So let's move on to the next mistake. Is mistake number 6 is insufficient research. So this is really that preparation piece. This is like the above and beyond, especially for those if you're trying to get into a very competitive company, you have to do your research. Employers can tell whether you are prepared or not. So, for example, some of the mistakes that I've seen is that no clue about the industry trends or insights, right? If you are going to roll, let's say marketing or sales, you have to know what's happening in the industry, like what's happening with the competitors, what's hot, what's not. You have to know that because that's going to become talking points as well there. Another mistake is lack of understanding about the company or business, right? This common interview question on like, why are you interested in this company or what do you know about our business, right? So you really want to do deeper research, especially for those if you are selling a product or service. You should also be researching about that, about their business model, for example, knowing more about their company culture, their values, their mission. Is there alignment with yours? When you do that kind of research, it helps have a more engaging type of conversation as well. The other mistake is unsure what it takes to be successful in the role. So there's a difference between, that you've reviewed the job posting, right? You got the interview, obviously you've read the job posting to go through it. To take it a step further is to really like dissect it, to really analyze the job by either one, by talking to the recruiter who could tell you more information about the role, or by talking to people who either work in that department or team, by doing some research on LinkedIn, like searching for people who have that similar job title to give you insights of what they write about so that you can also get a better understanding of, some of the deliverables that they made. And then analyzing the job description even more by really analyzing what are the core competencies required, what does success really look like, what are the key problems you need to solve. And that's really going to help you be more strategic and intentional with your messaging when it comes to interview prep. This is one of the exercises I always do with my clients when we're doing interview prep, is to really analyze the job. I think that a lot of times, but in their mind, they think they understand, but then getting them to articulate it and be more structured and more strategic about it is what gets hard. So when you can actually map out like the top 3 things that's important, you hone in on that messaging, and that's how you're really going to build that case of why you are the ideal candidate there. Okay. And then the other thing is, don't know anything about the people that you're meeting, right? I think this is a common mistake. I always think that if you're going into an important meeting, especially if you're going to meet people who are like the management level, C-level, um, do a bit of research, right? Ask. Even if they don't provide you the name, just ask. Like, I'm curious to know, who am I meeting? What are their names? Do a bit of search either on Google and LinkedIn to try to find a little bit more information about them. See if there's something interesting or anything that's common interest or alignment. Just look for some clues. So that way it helps you do a little prediction as well of what their style may be like, or communication would be like, or what they care about as well, right? If you're meeting someone with a very strong analytical numbers background, most likely when you go into the meeting, you probably want to be more numbers driven, or have more structure in the way you communicate. If you're meeting someone who you can feel that there's more people oriented, more warmth and inviting, you can probably have a bit more conversation to build that trust and rapport, and on a personal level there. So it can give you some clues, right, by doing that research there. Okay. This, I would say, is what's really going to differentiate, especially, let me just think here. What can I tell you about? Especially if you're targeting big companies, like I think of like the big banks, insurance companies, or like the big companies like Amazon and Google. They're so big, and we may know general information about what we see on Google, but if you can actually dive deeper to learn more about the business, about the challenges, like the internal challenges, by just doing these informational interviews, it could really make you stand out, because they feel like you've really gone above and beyond there. Right. I once had a client who made a huge pivot from a marketing agency at a small boutique agency, and he really wanted to pivot to a big telecommunications company. And it was a marketing role. It was a marketing specialist role, and it had to do with pricing and product marketing as well. And one of the exercises he did, like this was pre-COVID, he actually went to visit all the competitors, the retail stores, to learn about the products, the pricing, all that. So he went to get insights about it. So even though he didn't have any industry experience, he didn't really have even like experience in writing, like it was a case study interview. He was able to bring in his knowledge or observation of the research he did that showcase his potential, that showcase how he would go about solving a problem. Like that's the above and beyond to stand out there. Okay. When an employer or someone you meet can tell that you've gone above and beyond in doing something, that is a piece. When you have lack of experience, the potential piece is what's going to shine through. The that work ethic piece is what's going to shine through there. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Let me see. People are talking about offers. Okay, that's going to be the next we'll be talking about. How long is appropriate time to give before following up for a verbal offer? Um, I would say on is after verbal offer, I would say within 40 hours, like it's good to follow up. They should give something like at least a, what an update on there is. It may take longer to create the actual offer there, but it doesn't hurt like to ask like, what's the expected time of delivery there. Okay. I love that. Someone said, I did that for 2 interviews this week, and I could see the interviews were impressed, that I knew the challenges they are facing. Yeah, absolutely, right? When you can talk about the challenges that they're facing, they're like, "Oh, like you understand these, understand their needs," right? You're understanding the buyer's needs. That's what it is really about. Like, you are the solution, you're the product, right, as a candidate. You are showcasing you understand their needs and what the challenges they're facing to help them achieve their goals and solve the problems there. Okay. Yeah. Someone asked me, do I help with LinkedIn profile? Do you have any contacts I help with LinkedIn profile? Yes, I do. I do help with your LinkedIn profile. I do work with clients on a end-to-end basis, meaning I support you from the entire career transition and job search, from clarity, branding, resume, LinkedIn, interview prep, salary negotiation, networking. So I cover a little bit of everything there. I don't do the writing. I'm more a strategist and advisor. So if you're looking for a writer, you can just write to me and I'll give you some recommendations there. Communication books, Simply Said. Yeah, check out that book. I don't have the offer. Simply Said is the book. Let me just check on my Audible here. I know. I do recommend. Yeah, Simply Said at work. Simply Said. Yeah, communicating better at work and beyond. That's the title of the book there. Okay. All right. So another question here is what to do if you're unable to get an interview call even after 2 months of applying for jobs. I think this is where you want to reassess in terms of your strategy. Like, is your profile working? Like the resume, the LinkedIn? Are you targeting the right type of opportunities there? I would say also revisit, like, are you talking to the right people as well to get a foot in the door? Sometimes I hear from people tell me that I meet the qualifications for the job. Like, I have these qualifications I apply, but I think there's times that there's a lack of understanding of really the dynamics of the organization or how they really operate and what they're truly looking for. And I think this is where informational interviews come in. But I think in this case, if you've been applying for months and it's not working, we got to look at, okay, what else can we do beyond applying for jobs, right? I probably would stop applying for jobs and reassess, like, what else could I do to elevate my marketability and visibility there. Okay, so let's move on to mistake number 7. Mistake number 7 is horrible in interviews. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, just using like these terms, like Halloween terms, horrible in interviews. Interview is a big one, right? I love interview coaching just because of my recruiting background. And I know that it's also something that's in your control. Like, once you make it to interview stage, it's a pretty big deal, right? Like, you've made it past through these hundreds of people who applied. So you have greater control in terms of influence and persuasion there. Now, here are some of the common mistakes that I see in interviews when I work with clients there. Is number 1 is rambling and speaking too fast. This is pretty common. Like, even some of the most senior clients I work with, they've been just rambling on and on about a point, and there's not actually a point here, or they're speaking too fast because they're thinking really quickly there. And a way to overcome that is to have more structure or sequence in the way you communicate. So using guiding words like first, second, and third. In terms of speaking too fast, the key technique here is to breathe and pause. Breathe and pause, and to be more present with the people that you're talking to, right? Instead of just talking without actually connecting there. Okay. This is a big one. Something that I work with pretty much with all my clients on is number 1, the rambling and speaking too fast. Second is monotone voice. So this is really just that boring tone of voice that people may fall asleep or they not be engaged with you. And so having more dynamicness in your tone of voice is important there, right? So having that variation would help. right? And this is just a lot of through practicing, through being aware of it, through listening to your own voice as well. Like, have you ever listened to your own voice? I do that a lot. Even after my live streams, I would watch myself and say, like, where can I improve? I used to have a very soft tone of voice and a more higher pitched tone of voice. Sometimes I don't know if you notice where some people who are nervous, they'll end it with a higher pitched tone because they are questioning themselves or they're doubting themselves. And that does not resonate in terms of with an audience, with the listener there. They may feel that you have doubts in your communication. And so this is where practicing and being aware of it really helps. Practicing breathing deeper through your diaphragm and helping projecting further in your tone of voice as well will help increase that credibility and influence there. Third, it's downplaying your value. So this is a big one. I see this a lot as a coach is people may think, well, they should be able to just see it in my resume, or I've already made it this far. They should be able to tell, or just feeling, either imposter syndrome or just feeling uncomfortable talking about themselves. But you got to remember, you are the one. If you're pitching yourself, right? So you want to highlight your assets, which is your expertise, your strengths, your reputation, your proud accomplishments, your contribution to the company, your impact. You want to highlight that because that's what the employer is looking for. That's what they're evaluating. So don't downplay that. Don't expect that they should be able to tell. You need to be able to really highlight that so that it becomes more memorable there. Okay? And especially when you think of the benefits of hiring you. There's a difference between saying, I have X years of experience or X skills and X experience versus saying, I can help you with this, or the benefits of hiring me is this. So focusing on that end game, the end goal in terms of the impact and contribution there. Right. And I find from my work as a coach, oftentimes I need to peel like almost 3 to 4 layers to help my clients to really identify like what's great about it. So it's not just saying like, it's just I have an example here, but it should not just say, "Oh, I did this." It's saying like, "I did this that led to that led to X, Y, Z there." That's the so what piece there that really differentiates, right? Whether it's, let's say, increasing the company's revenue, improving efficiency, saving money, whatever it is, what you want to think about is think about the KPIs, key performance indicators, the metrics of success that employers care about, to really connect the dots there. Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying, not connecting the dots. That's another big one. Is a lot of times people don't connect the dots, and I would argue it's because we don't do a deep enough analysis of really understanding what it takes to be successful in the job. As you move through interviews, and when you think about this, like the first round in interviews, typically you don't really understand much about the role yet, just because you just read it from the job description. You want to ask questions to learn more about the role. And as you move through the second, third, or fourth round, it should go from you talking about your past experience to talking more about what can you do for them, right? And so this is where coming up with like a 90-day plan or coming up with your ideas or solution, talking more about the role, the business, the company makes it more real and connected. They're going to feel like, okay, we now know about your past. We want to know more about what can you do for us now. So when you can connect that, that's very powerful there. Okay. Lastly, is not practicing. So I see this a lot, right? There's just so much going on when you're preparing, you are researching, you are writing your answers here, you are predicting these questions you're going to get, which is all awesome. You want to do all of that, right? But so often we don't buffer enough time to actually practice. And there is a difference between what you think you'll say versus what you'll actually say. So practicing and recording yourself and getting feedback is how you're going to improve and get better and better over time. Okay. So I challenge you to either find someone who can do a mock interview with you or record yourself, like have these questions ready and just answer these questions there. Because when you do that enough times, naturally you're going to speak more from your heart versus your head, right? Heart versus head. When you're speaking from your heart, you're more likely to connect with your audience better than when you're trying to memorize what you should be saying. Okay, so this is the key is practicing. So I'm curious to hear from you. Like, any of you actually take the time to practice or record themselves or have a mock interview with someone there? Have you ever done that? Okay, let's see. What other question here? As a newcomer to Canada, how important is it to have Canadian work experience? Do you just start as a lower skill just to earn experience and get references before moving up the ladder? Oh, this is a great question. I get this a lot, and I think it really depends. It really depends on the level of experience that you have, right? I think that I've had clients who are like pretty high up in consulting, let's say at the director level already, and they come to Canada. They get to still do something similar, but it's say at the manager level. But then they quickly move back. I've worked with them to quickly move back to that next level role there. So I think it really depends. If you have more, say, entry level experience, I think it's totally okay to start. To start somewhere to get experience there, or even volunteer because that's how you're going to meet people as well. Um, at the end of the day, you wanna market yourself effectively. Like, I know it could be hard, like, being new to country, in terms of getting opportunities or getting hired as well, but this is where you wanna continue to start either, 1, meet people, or if you're, let's say, new to Canada, is leverage these, agencies. There's a lot of agencies out there, let's say Access Employment, that help newcomers with their job search, and they'll provide you access to meeting with potential employers or getting mentors, as well. Okay. But I think it's totally okay. Like, if you have to start somewhere first to get some experience or even to make some make some money as well to be stable, that's totally okay there. Okay. Let's see. Melissa said, yes, I record myself and make sure I get the tell us about yourself and why do you want this job answer down pat at the minimum. Great job. That's great to hear, Melissa. Yeah, so tell me about yourself question is something I always practice with my clients. To me, that's like your elevator pitch that you need to nail. Because over and over, people always want to know, but tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, what should we know about you, or what's your relevant experience. So you want to nail that because to me, it's a marketing pitch, and we need to reframe the thinking, going from the common mistake I see as well with this "tell me about yourself" question. Most people tell it in a chronological order, where they'll start with, "I graduated from this school, started working here, then I moved here, then I moved here." Okay. While that could be helpful in a storytelling approach, in an interview setting, if you only have that meeting, that first question, it should only be 2 to 3 minutes long. So you want to be strategic in highlighting the core things that they actually care about in an interview, and highlighting what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you have to offer? What relevant skills and knowledge do you have? What are your proud accomplishments? What's your track record of success? Right? Showcase that. One thing I was just working with a client about this. Tell me about yourself. One of the feedback I gave her was you want to showcase progression in your career as well. So the way you tell your story, even if you've been at the same company for a decade, like I work with clients who've been at the same kind of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and if you've been in the same role for that long, as an employer, they want to know, like, have you grown? Have you taken on more responsibilities? Have you worked on more challenging problems? So it's up to you of how you tell your story to give that impression there. If you just say like, "Oh yeah, I have knowledge in this," but it doesn't give context of how have you grown as an individual or how have you progressed in your career, it's really hard for them to assess your performance. At the end of the day, they want to know how good you are, right? Are you a high performer? Are you someone with high potential? Hi. Thank you for sharing that, Melissa. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up the next mistake here and I'm answering some questions. So feel free to start typing in your questions here. So mistake number 8 is afraid to negotiate salary. So a lot of times people are afraid of negotiating salary, or they may just maybe desperate in accepting the job. And so they accept the offer too quickly. They just accept either on the spot or accept whatever send it to them, email the offer, and they just accept right away. Now, there's okay to accept the offer without negotiating, but if you know that you have leverage or negotiation power, or if you know that they maybe lowballed you, you do want to follow up and ask for more, right? Most of the time, people don't ask for more because it may feel awkward or uncomfortable there. Or another mistake I see is showing all your cards. So one thing is that people they'll talk about exactly what they were making before, instead of saying with giving showing all your cards and all the details of what you're making before. You want to give a range of what your expectation is of what you would be happy with in this new opportunity there, right? I can talk about salary negotiation as a whole other talk here, but one thing I do want to encourage, and I've seen this a lot with my clients, is don't be afraid to ask for more. And I've seen this ripple effect right now with many of my clients because a lot of them have been making 5 figures more than before. Right, this year, on average, my clients have been making at least like 43, 45K more than before. My C-level clients are making 6 figures more. And I believe part of it is the mindset of how we see ourselves and the value, and the ripple effect that they're seeing how my past clients are making more, and it gives them this courage and permission to ask for more as well. So surround yourself with people who will elevate your mindset and your thinking and your confidence, right? And do some research to really understand the range as well. So I'll give you an example. I had a client who made a huge pivot from nonprofit to tech, specifically at Amazon. Her salary doubled. It's crazy, doubled. And her initial offer, she actually thought of just accepting it because it's already a lot more than what she was making before. And we had to really evaluate the whole compensation package, the role, do a bit research of what the ranges of the role, do some calculation. Like we actually had to bust out a spreadsheet as well to look at different scenarios. And ultimately, just through reviewing that together, she was able to ask for another 20K more, which was crazy, right? Because she thought, well, I'm already getting a lot more, I shouldn't ask for more. But just through some discussion that she knew she had leverage and that she knew how high the role could go up to. And so she was able to frame a really great email to get her more as well. Okay. So this takes a lot of strategy and planning. I mean, there are some roles, obviously, you can't negotiate if, let's say, you're going for like not can't, but like it's hard to negotiate because it's an entry level role. You may be able to get maybe 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. But if you're in a mid level and you have really great value to offer and you have other multiple offers, there's definitely room for negotiation there. From my experience, like getting an extra 10K is certainly possible there if you're in that mid level above type of role there. Okay. All right, so those are the 8 mistakes that I just covered of spooky mistakes job seekers make. I hope you find this helpful. I covered a little bit of everything today, from the career clarity all the way to salary negotiation. So if you want to learn more, visit me at my website, mymarkability.com, or you can also email me, info@mymarkability.com. You can also follow me on my YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram as well. Just look up Diana YK Chan to learn more as well. I have a lot of past live stream videos as well. Okay, so I'm curious to hear from you. What's your biggest takeaway from today's training? Okay, share with me your key learnings, and then I'm going to look through and answering some questions as well. Okay. All right, just let me take a quick water break here. Okay. So William had a question. What is the best way to network virtually, in your opinion? So in my opinion, best way to network virtually, I would say definitely leverage LinkedIn. Like I found the past year and a half now, almost 2 years, I've met a lot of people virtually through LinkedIn. So to me, I would start there. Personally, I would start there to network. It's a great way to find people, to connect with people. And then from there, you take it offline, or take it through essentially through, like I have like Zoom meetings with people there, right? That to me, that's the most I have seen, like the most effective way. And then I've seen some that where they actually meet in person and coffee, but I think these days it's still virtual there in terms of networking. Okay. I've had people, let me just think here. I'm just thinking some examples here. I've had people who I met like through just even my live streams here, right? Who've been following me for quite some time. They'll message me afterwards and we start, get to know each other. And then I've had people then from there became a guest speaker on my show because of our conversations. And then from there, either they become my client or I connect them with someone else. It doesn't have to be the traditional way, like let's hop on a call right away. It could really just be these quick conversations that can make a huge difference. Like I don't know if Andrea's here today, but Andrea, like who's one of like my great followers who's always on my live stream here. She's always great at commenting on my live streams. And we've always had great conversations through our LinkedIn chat. And I've been able to ask her for feedback, suggestions, and we've had some great dialogues through our LinkedIn chats. She's also recommending me speakers to come on my show as well. So that's part of networking. It doesn't have to be a huge formal ask or anything formal per se. It's really about building relationships at the end of the day. This next question. I felt a red signal when I was asked the interview question, why should we hire you? Is it necessary? How should we nail this question? Great question. This is a question I always practice. Why you? Why should we hire you? I do think it's necessary. To me, this goes back to the benefits of hiring you, right? This is you building your case. This is showcasing whether you understand your own value and what you have to offer. So it is, to me, it is a pitch question, a pitch type of messaging there. The way I like to think about it is think about your top 3 unique selling points, 3 reasons why you should hire me. So identify your top 3 reasons, give a definition to it of what it means, and then you can back it up. And then you back it up, maybe like an example, and then you talk about some of the benefits of these qualities of yours, right? Of these things that you have to offer. What is really the benefit? And the way you want to position it is think back to the hiring manager's goal. What are they trying to achieve? What problems they're trying to solve? You want to address that. That's how you're really going to connect the dots there. Okay. I personally like this question. So there's a difference between why should we hire you versus why are you interested in this role and why are you interested in this company? Why this role or why this company is more a motivational question. They're trying to understand, why do you like it? What is it that you like about them or this opportunity? So it's more talk about your motivations of what you want to get out of this opportunity. Whereas why should we hire you is pitching yourself of the benefits of hiring you. I see this a lot where people make this as a mistake. Like when I ask them why this role, they start either selling about themselves and they're not really clear on the motivation of why they actually want this opportunity there. Okay, so don't get that mixed up. Thank you for asking that question. All right, Candace shared here. Excellent points on the mistakes. Many of us know better, but really good to be reminded and take a closer look at all these points. So the total presentation of yourself is the best it can be for the employer. Yes, great insight here. Thank you for reminding that. At the end of the day, you want to showcase your best self. That's really what it is, right? This whole package of what makes you amazing, what makes you awesome, what makes you a great asset to hire there. The interview practice tool through this platform really helps with questions and sending video mock interviews to pairs. Yes. Let me really helps with questions and sending video mock interviews to peers. Yes. Yeah, you can. I was just saying, like in terms of platforms too, William, if you're looking to get feedback, there's this tool. It's either you can record yourself through Zoom and you can send it for people to get feedback, or another great tool is called Loom, 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 where you can record these short videos, and it's a cloud-based tool where you can quickly send the URL link to people for them to give you some feedback as well there. Regarding showing on your cards, is it okay to accept verbal offer in a phone? So it depends. This is also, it depends. I think that, in my opinion, I really think that getting this verbal offer is great, right? I do think it's important to take the time to review the offer details. So oftentimes a verbal offer, it gives you very high level in terms of the base salary, the bonus, and the vacation, right? you could maybe say like, that's great. That's great. This seems like a great offer. I would like to take some time to review the offer details before I sign on there. Take the time to review it, because sometimes there could be in the offer letter like some minor details that you want to clarify or some minor things that you want to adjust, especially for those who are more in mid to senior level roles. I'll give you an example. Like for those who are more senior level roles, a lot of times they may want to get a lawyer to review the offer letter, or they may want to add in a clause about getting a severance. Like in a case of, let's just say they get let go, like 3 months from now or 6 months from now, that they have a severance package, because it takes executives a lot longer to find something. So you want to make sure you review all these also legal terms as well before you accept the offer there. Okay, unless we're talking this offer is very basic in entry level role, then that makes sense. You can just accept it. But in my opinion, I think it's wise to take the time to review it, because you may be so excited about it, right? And you got this emotion, so excited, but you want to make sure you review all the legal terms as well, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. The other is sometimes is just simple things like, I know, is the role what they say it is? Right? You may think this, but then you sign it. Is it the actual role? Sometimes I've heard people where they accepted the offer, they start, and they're like, it's not the role that I signed up for. And so you want to clarify that, especially for those who are going into a newly created role. This is something I challenge a lot of my clients when, and it's happened a lot these days, right? In the pandemic, so many new roles being created. Sometimes the hiring manager may have in mind what it is, or throughout the interview they talk about it. Once you get the final offer, clarify that. Like, this is exactly what happened to one of my clients recently. He got a senior manager product management role, brand new role at a fintech company. And I really pushed to get clarity on that, because it was a new role. I was like, what is the scope of the role? Does it align with what you want? Is it going to be challenging enough? Is it going to be a higher pay as well? Like, asking all these questions to clarify so that you know what you're getting yourself into is really important there. All right. So Susan asks, Diana, is there any resume advice to get noticed when pivoting to a new industry and relying on transferable skills and a newly earned related to your certification? Good question. So I've helped a lot of clients pivot industries. So it's totally doable. I want to let you know that, especially if you're going into a role that's like an area that's similar to what you've done before, it's totally doable. So part of in the resume strategy here is you want to highlight some of these transferable skills in, like, say a table section, like a 3x3 or 3x4 of your core competencies. And you want to maybe highlight, like, say, for example, your 2-year certification, bring it up in the first top paragraph of your summary statement of your qualifications. Highlight that to showcase that relevancy here. So I'll give you an example. I have a client right now. She's been in the banking industry in like a business role for 20 years, and she's looking to become a coach now. And she has all these credentials. She has her MBA, Master in Finance, CFA, all these credentials, and she has her certification in coaching. And I basically suggest her, drop the ones that are more finance oriented, right? And essentially you want to highlight the one that's more relevant, the coaching designation there. So that way people see, especially your top quarter of your resume or top half should be like the most relevant experience. That's really the strategy there, is that you want to have more your most relevant skills, knowledge, and experience in the top half of your resume there. Okay. The other thing is, when you're networking, is that you want to showcase that you do know something about the industry as well, that you've done your research about the industry there. Okay. You're welcome. Seeing a lot of thank you messages coming in. You're welcome, Julie, William. Awesome. Great. See a lot of you here still. Okay. So what's another question I'm seeing here? Can you give us a clue or sample how to frame the email? What email are you referring to, Mohammed? I'm not sure what email you're referring to. Tell me a little bit more. Great session. You're very welcome. I love the advice to boost your LinkedIn profile. That's great to hear that. Yeah, I think these days, especially being virtual, having your great LinkedIn profile, like to me, I think it's really important. Like I wouldn't, if resume and LinkedIn are both important, right? Because the LinkedIn is like I think of it as like an ad, right? It's what's going to help get leads to people asking for your resume or asking about you about an opportunity there. So having a great LinkedIn profile is important. So other things I didn't mention about earlier was even just having a great profile picture that showcase more of that warmth and that friendliness as well for people to connect with you. One thing I forgot to mention, a new LinkedIn feature that just came out that I saw in the email is that in the job alerts now, you have the ability now to showcase or indicate whether you're interested in remote opportunity, hybrid opportunity, or in-office opportunity. So you can also set that now in your settings there. That's a new feature that LinkedIn just came up with. Okay. All right, this is great to see. Takeaways. Employers want to see you grow and that you become better. Take more responsibilities. Yes, yes, yes. That's the growth piece, right? That's the adaptability as well, right? Okay. Thanks for the excellent spooky tips. You covered a lot. All the steps in the job search. Thank you. Yes. I try to be a little bit creative here. Usually I don't talk about like the scary stuff. I was like, hey, in the spirit of Halloween, let's just have some fun here and turn it back into some tips as well to offer to you all. Hey, Christy, great seeing you as well. Always a pleasure hearing your advice. How would you recommend answering why hire you if the position is a lower level than you previously had? That's a great question, right? In terms of, I think it would be similar as well. It's totally okay if it's a lower level. At the end of the day, it's how you're going to see it, how you value it as well, what value bring. So the way maybe can give you some insight. If it's a lower level, let's just say if you're going from a management role to a non-management role. Let's just use that as an example, right? Then the way you answer why hire you want to talk less about strategy or strategic thinking type of answers to maybe something that's more like hands-on, like tactical type of core competencies, right? Like of getting things done. So it's going back to analyzing the job. The benefits of hiring you is like what is the core need and the core competency required, and you answer it in the way that would meet those core requirements. So for example, like if you're used to doing something, let's say more strategic, and this role doesn't require that anymore, but you saying that, then that may be a misalignment, right? There may be a mismatch because they think that it's not the best fit there. Okay. So I hope that helped. It's still the same method of showcasing your top three reasons of why hire you there. Okay. And I get this a lot right now. I've had clients right now where they're like, Diana, I don't want to be a team lead anymore. I don't want to manage people anymore. Like I was just talking to a client the other day. She's an engineering team lead. She's like, I'm just sick and tired of it. I want to be an IC, individual contributor. So coming back to a software engineer or software developer. That's what she wants. It's just like, how do I reposition myself for that? Like I've been managing a team for quite some time. And I'm like, talk about how you want to be more hands-on, how you want to get into the nitty-gritty, the details, or how you want to learn more about the product, or how you want to become more technical. There's so many things that you can talk about. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I hate managing people. It could just be like, hey, I want to do more of this kind of work. I want to solve more of these type of problems. And that's totally okay, right? I have clients like that. Like it's not necessarily lower level. It's just something how you see it, right? It's just more, it could be something more fulfilling to you at the end of the day, or greater alignment to where you want to be at this stage in your career there. Okay. All right. Many takeaways. For me, I am lacking a foundation or weak foundation, have some work to do. Okay, that's great to hear, Julie. So definitely do the foundation work. That's going to make a huge difference, right? To really get clear. One of the book, I don't have it here, it's called Designing Your Life. Designing your life, or designing your work. It helps you get the foundation as well. And they're really looking at 360 holistically. What is it that you truly want there? Okay. All right. Biggest clarity, lack of clarity and plan, ideal role, where to apply and target. Awesome. Great to hear that. Thank you for tuning in. Great to see many familiar faces as well. Thank you. Love the positivity and energy you spread. Yes, that's what I'm known for, is the passion energy here. Like honestly, let me see here. Someone asked me here, so I'm a newbie here. Do you have any workshop job search advice for seekers 50-year plus? Honestly, I've worked with job seekers for 50 years plus. Like, I mean, a lot of the advice here is still applicable, right? I get those questions a lot in terms of how to deal with ageism as well. A lot of this advice, and you can see my past could still be very applicable as well there. Okay. One of the key specific advice I have to address here is if I had to think about it, it's like how do you showcase that you're still adaptable, that you can still be coachable and versatile as well, right? I think a big part is like showcasing how you can embrace change, especially in today's environment. Things are always changing. So showcasing that you still have this growth mindset, that you're hungry for learning still is important there. Okay. And even modernizing your profile, your resume, your messaging, all will help with that there. Okay. Glad you like the creativity with the Halloween theme. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Anything else before I sign off here? I think I covered everything today. I hope you learned a lot. This was actually really fun, actually. A lot really fun to deliver today. So something I've learned, some of you have asked me as well, in terms of how I come up with ideas and all that. A big part sometimes is like seeing what's the theme is. Like, for example, this week is Halloween. And that gave me the inspiration of a topic to talk about spooky mistakes. So sometimes you can look for inspiration in your surroundings as well. And this is an approach I take even with branding. Like even I think about my nails as well. It's based on the theme. Like I had the theme of Halloween, or I wanted something darker, and that's how I came up with this theme. And that's similar to when you are selling yourself, is thinking about like what's this theme, right? The way I talk about even personal branding, it's like how you want people to experience you. It's also similar to wedding planning. When you think about a great wedding, there is a theme, there is a certain color, there are things that represent the couple there. And so that's similar how you approach your own brand, of how you think about yourself. Like, what are the things that really represent you, right? So for those who've been following me quite some time now, you know that I love the color blue. You see it appear in a lot of my shows, things that I wear has a blue tone to it as well, right? And in my communication style is really representative of who I am. Like I want to have that positivity, the energy, the inspiration, the empowerment. Like that's the vibe I want to give off at the end of the day there. And so I'm very consistent with that. Like the way I communicate in my posts, I always want to have this encouraging tone of voice there. And so to wrap up, right, I want to give this word of encouraging advice for you all is to don't give up. Don't give up, right? There's so many possibilities here. Like turn these problems into possibilities, turn these obstacles into opportunities as well. For every no you get, remind yourself that the next opportunity is around the corner. And remember to own your greatness with confidence to shine. So that's my word of advice in terms of encouragement. I hope you find this engaging and helpful in today's session. Feel free to connect with me further on my LinkedIn or send me a message there. All right. All right. You all take care. Have a wonderful week. Cheers.